Today, we're diving into a topic that started as a complaint, but quickly became a bigger story about transparency, accountability, and who exactly investigates our police. If you follow me, you might recall I filed a complaint against the Lexington Police Officer Barrett 56661 after an encounter at an active police scene over there at the SWAT, the KSP and U.S. Marshal scene where Lexington was security at best. Now, I didn't know this until I obviously got the email, the answer. But a good old Sergeant Weslee Farley did the review of the complaint. So, in essence, he investigated his police officer. Now, right off the bat, I need to say that this is not a personal attack. It isn't about rumors. It isn't about social media gossip. This is public records. Everything I'm discussing tonight, you can verify for yourself 100%. And as a police officer, a public servant, we have the right as the public to examine his professional history, his public record, and his whole role within the department whatsoever. Gotta love it. So tonight we're opening what I'm going to call the Sergeant Farley file. You're listening to WTF LEX, a production of OGM Podcast Network. Real events, real accountability, and real Lexington. Let's get it. Welcome back to what I lovingly call the shit show, folks. Now I'm going to start tonight off on maybe what you might consider a boring part. I'm going to actually read the emails that I received in response to my complaint against Officer Barrett for being pushed and just, quite frankly, the rudeness in general. Because out of the 30 other cops, no one even said a bad word at all. It's kind of odd. And now, obviously, this email is supposed to intimidate me. So I want to use my most pretentious asshole voice that I can possibly read this in. And then afterwards, I'll discuss why every point that he used is completely false and he's just blowing smoke out of his ass. But here we are. Mr. Sexton, I received your complaint and have completed a thorough investigation into the allegations. I appreciate your concerns as it is my charge to hold officers of the Lexington Police Department to the highest standards of professionalism. You're fucking failing, bro. With that said, after a review of the facts, I have determined that the complaint allegations are unfounded and would like to address what appear to be some misunderstandings as of the legalities of these situations. The first issue I would like to address is the use of crime scene tape. While it is a visible representation of a boundary, it is not a requirement to delineate a police line or crime scene. The physical presence of an officer to include police vehicles with lights activated and verbal directions from an officer is sufficient in establishing a boundary. In this particular situation, Officer Barrett and Kentucky State Police had the roadway closed and was maintaining its security, but they didn't have the sidewalk, just so you know. It's obvious in the video. In the initial encounter, Officer Barrett explained you were in a crime scene and you complied and left. It wasn't a crime scene. He did not state that. At the behest of Officer Barrett, at your behest, Officer Barrett began using crime scene tape to clearly delineate the boundary, which you're supposed to do. Otherwise, how am I, as a civilian walking down through there, supposed to know your sidewalk's closed? Like, in all seriousness, you've got the road blocked. You have nothing blocking the sidewalk. I see other individuals walking. I mean, common sense. I know it's rare. The next issue is that of trespassing on private property and Officer Barrett's use of physical force to have you move. In your posted video, thanks for the view, it clearly shows you entering private residential property to continue filming. At no point in the video does it show you obtaining permission from a resident or property owner to film on their property. Also, upon further investigation, it was determined that property was marked as private property with no trespassing sign. Kentucky revised statute clearly states that physical force can be used to stop the act of criminal trespassing. Criminal. Keep that in mind. Criminal trespassing. Officer Barrett exercised discretion by not placing you under arrest at the time despite your non-compliance with his additional request to move to another location. I have included those statutes for reference below. Now, just for shits and giggles, I literally have live video of me sitting there with residents in their yard talking. I was offered food and drinks, so I'm pretty sure I was an invited guest. But he lists KRS 511-080 criminal trespass in the third degree. A person is guilty of criminal trespass in the third degree when he knowingly enters or remains unlawfully in or upon the premises. I had permission. I mean, sorry I didn't film the initial getting permission, but you have hours upon hours of video with me with the neighbors, with me with them going all over the complex, with them bringing other people around the back just like I got in, because that's the only way to get in. Then he lists KRS 503.080, protection of property. The use of physical force by a defendant upon another person is justifiable when the defendant believes that such force is immediately necessary to prevent the commission of criminal trespass, wasn't criminal, robbery, burglary, or a felony involving the use of force, or under those circumstances permitted, but to KRS 503.055 in a dwelling, building, or upon real property in his or her possession or in the possession of another person whose protection he or she acts. Once again, that says criminal trespass. And once again, I mean, if we really want to play it, I had a DoorDash order there. I was actually invited to the property. You want to play games. Therefore, I was invited to the property, and then when I talked to the residents and began filming, I was actually a guest of theirs. And it's actually the burden of proof is on you to prove that I was not invited. If you're going to charge me, that's why you didn't charge me, and it wasn't just his discretion. He knew he had no fucking right to charge me. But he also put in there KRS 503.085, justification in criminal and civil immunity for use of permitted force. A person who uses force as permitted in KRS 503.055 and KRS 503.050, 503.070 and 503.080 is justified in using such force and is immune from criminal prosecution and civil action for the use of such force, unless the person against whom the force was used is a peace officer, as defined in KRS 446.010, who is acting in the performance of his or her duties, and the officer identified himself or herself in accordance with any applicable law, or the person using force knew or reasonably should have known that the person was a peace officer. As used in the subsection, the term criminal prosecution includes arresting, detaining, in custody, and charging, or, and it just ends there. And I'm not sure why he put that in there, because actually your officer was the one that pushed me. There was no, I didn't retaliate. I didn't push back. I raised my voice to let it be known there was some shit going on and people needed to watch. But if you read that, like, you can use justifiable force and not be prosecuted, and if somebody's committing a crime, as long as the person is not a police officer. It doesn't say they can't be committing a crime. They can be you catch that? Like, basically they're fucking immune no matter what. That's why they can beat the shit out of you and there's no repercussions. That's why they can have two guys putting their full body weight on a mentally ill patient while he's kind of squirming. You put body weight on me from one of you fat fucks, and I want to squirm. But let's continue in the email. We gotta go back to pretension. Lastly, I would like to address the complaint that Officer Barrett violated your constitutional right of free speech. The Supreme Court case, Cox versus New Hampshire, is the deciding case on this issue. In summary, the Supreme Court decided in a unanimous decision that government entities can impose regulations as to exercise of First Amendment protected activities. In short, limitations can be imposed as to time, place, and manner in order to maintain public safety. At no point during the encounter did Officer Barrett tell you that you could not film or exercise your First Amendment right, although he did violate my Fourth Amendment right by seizing my travel. You would put You were given a direction to move as you were in place that would put you and Officer Barrett in grave danger given the circumstances. Bullshit, because he literally told me word for word I could be in the line of fire as long as I was behind the tape. That's his quote. You were only asked to move to place of safety so you could continue to exercise your constitutional right free of threat of harm. I have included a link to the case below for reference. The Lexington Police Department Public Information Office has clearly established expectations of conduct with its recognized media partners. I'm not a recognized media partner, and fuck if I want to be. Fuck you, it's independent. I don't need your fucking approval. Despite not being a member of this group, yeah, bitch, I know, thank God, I recommend contacting them for guidance so we can prevent incidences of this nature in the moving forward. Respectfully, Weslee Farley, Sergeant, East Sector, 1st Shift, Lexington Police Department. And I am giving out his number. It's 859-425-2538, office. That's his office phone number, I do assume. So I don't know if you gathered anything from that, but what I gathered is we're going to cover our ass, and the investigation into ourselves is, I reckon we didn't do nothing wrong, feller. And I'm going to list a bunch of this here legal stuff that has nothing to do with nothing because you weren't criminally trespassing, and the police officer can't be the complainant on a criminal trespass. Somebody else has to. And then when all the residents are on film for over 3 hours, like offering me food and all that shit, reckon I had a fucking invite, didn't I, dumbass? And I also caught that, it's perfectly fine for your fucking cops to use physical force. They don't give a shit. Fuck you, fuck the public. Now, we all know my ass had to come up with a smart ass reply. And I'm quite proud of this one, actually. Like, I feel like I towed the line. I didn't use the curse. I didn't cuss a lot. And that's one thing I'm going to work on in the future when I actually have occurrences where I talk to these people. I'm going to try to be nice. I'm going to give them the opportunity, because normally I don't talk to them, and if they talk to me, then I talk back, and it's usually shitty. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I have no problem with that. I'm going to start doing these First Amendment audits, though, and I'm not going to give them a reason. They're not going to be able to say that, oh, you're creating a disturbance. You're disturbing the peace. No. We're going to work on our feng shui, our little zen, and we're going to get real fucking calm. Now, I mean, cussing's one thing, as long as you don't raise your voice. I mean, I cuss every day. I call my kid, "What's up? Good morning, asshole," because I mean, that's what I am. But I was, like I said, I was very proud. And here's my response. Sergeant Farley, thank you for your response and for taking the time to explain that police tape is apparently optional, private property rights only apply when convenient, and that independent journalists should perhaps seek guidance from the department's preferred media outlets before exercising their constitutional rights. I'm especially grateful for the clarification that being shoved while documenting a newsworthy event is not only acceptable, but apparently an example of officer discretion and professionalism. It is reassuring to know that had Officer Barrett chosen to exercise less discretion, I might have received the full customer service experience and been arrested as well. I also appreciate the citation to Cox versus New Hampshire. While I understand that reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions may exist, I was unaware that those restrictions now include standing where an officer decides you shouldn't be, while television stations routinely receive accommodations through established relationship with your department. Your response raises additional questions regarding media access to the department's quote-unquote recognized media partners, the determination that I was trespassing, and the investigation's conclusion that physical force was justified. As a result, I will be seeking all relevant body camera footage, reports, policy, communications, and records related to this incident, which I already had. Again, thank you for confirming the department doing no wrongdoing after investigating itself. The outcome was certainly unexpected. I'm hoping they can sense a slight bit of sarcasm. Respectfully, of course, Greg Sexton from Old Girl Media. And surprise, surprise, he didn't respond for some reason. But Obviously, I've already put in the open request for Mr. Farley himself, because as soon as I put his name into Google, Jesus fucking Christ, these are the people that are protecting and serving us. Like, it is fucking scary. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to get a hype moment here. Like, you Google this guy's name, and the first thing that comes up is fucking paperwork and court papers about domestic violence. Can you be more fucking stereotypical, bro? Now, not only is it domestic violence accusations, but there's also a ruling from the Attorney General is 20-ORD-110 in 2020. The Lexington Police Department was found to have violated the Kentucky Open Records Act. The dispute centered around records connected to a complaint involving Officer Weslee Farley. The Attorney General concluded that the department failed to adequately justify withholding certain records and attachments requested by the public. Let me say that again. The Attorney General determined the Lexington Police Department violated Kentucky's Open Records Act. Imagine that. Now, that ruling wasn't against any misconduct against Farley. It was not whatsoever, but it's finding it against the department's handling of public records, which, if you've listened to any of this, you completely know that they already, like, they're ridiculous. They wait till the fucking 12th hour on the last very day to give you any information. Then 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, we can't get this done in time. We're going to have to push it off. They give you another 2-week window, and then they come back with 3 pages in a fucking homicide. An unsolved homicide. They sent, I think, look, I might be exaggerating a little. I think they sent 7 pages total. It's basically the CAD of who showed up, who was called, when they were there, and when they left. Nothing of the investigation, nothing of anything whatsoever. And then you go to, like, Frankfurt. Frankfurt sent me 472 pages. I'm like, the difference is staggering. And that's in an unsolved missing person from Frankfurt. This was literally a shooting in Lexington, and you had 7 pages. Like, you see that? Like, eventually I'm gonna have to put all these together, and I'm sure that I'll be dealing with the Attorney General's office, because I will file a complaint. It's ridiculous. Like, you can send me every single, they sent me more on McCullough's public records than they did on an unsolved homicide. What kind of sense is that? I understand not sending everything. I understand completely. And it's not just Lexington. It's all over Kentucky. Northern Kentucky, up there, I did a case. And the records they sent back, it was hilarious. The Kentucky State Police DNA, paperwork, looked like it was from the CIA. It was redacted completely. Literally, all you could see on there was the person who did the test's signature. Not even a name about who was tested, not what was tested, how it was tested. And like I said, I can understand, like, specific evidence, but you're not going to tell me anything about the case whatsoever? What is the point of open records then? Like, public trust depends on public access. You know, when records are withheld, like, everybody's got questions then. And I've obviously already requested Weslee Farley's work record through the Lexington Police Department, all the accommodations, all the history, because I really want to see if they're going to send me all of it. Because in 2014, our boy Farley over here was involved in an officer-involved shooting. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that he was hired in 2013, and he was pretty much a rookie cop when this happened. Now, like I said, I've got the open records request in, and when it comes in, we'll have to do an updated episode to fill in some more details. But for the officer-involved shooting incident, it was June 2014. Officer Weslee Farley and Officer Christopher Mason became involved in an officer-involved shooting near Berea Christian Church. According to reports at the time, officers encountered vehicles parked near the church during what police described as a drug investigation. Wink, wink. Police stated that one vehicle fled and narrowly missed officers, Police further allege that the driver of a truck attempted to strike the officers. I don't know why the South Park fucking thing, it's coming right for us, comes to mind, but that's speculation on my part. But our boys in blue opened fire and shot our boy Joseph Kilburn in the face. And he actually lived, I'm sure much to the chagrin of the officers. But following the incident, they were both put on administrative assignment. It means they get to go paid to sit at a desk, which obviously police say is standard procedure after an officer-involved shooting. And as we found out recently, when you send inappropriate text messages and pictures to a 17-year-old, apparently that's also grounds for, an administrative assignment. What's funny is that hopefully they're working open record, they're working the records and have to see their own records being pulled. That'd be kind of ironic, but I know it doesn't work that way. But like I said, once we get the open records on the employment history, I'll post those up on the internet too and on the website. I got several pictures. I've got to add Barrett and Farley now. Jeez, I need to keep up with my pictures on my website, which is oldgirdmedia.com. There's a bad cop no donut section. Then there's also the comprehensive section where you can look and see all the pictures of existing police officers, because there's nowhere to find that. Good luck. It took me a while to find Mr. Farley's picture. Thankfully, Lexington Police Department uses X. Now, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people out there that are going to be, a little misunderstood about this, thinking I'm just personal attacking on good old Sergeant Farley here, but this isn't about his personal life. I mean, his divorce and domestic violence charges are very public. I mean, it's not about settling scores because he ruled against me, because like I expected different. That thin blue line, fellas. We're not stupid out here in, civilian land. And honestly, this issue is 100% what I want to freaking cover on this platform. Like covering this, the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability, the trying to intimidate somebody via email. Dude, if you guys had half of a reason to fucking arrest me, you would fucking arrest me. Don't play that, there's discretion bullshit, because I already know you fucking hate me. And KSP walked over, didn't say a word. U.S. Marshals walked by, didn't say a word. I was literally within 10 feet on the other side of every one of these people. Didn't say a word. And that's why I don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm not anti-police. I'm pro-transparency. I'm pro-accountability. You guys are fucking humans just like I'm human. In fact, it only takes 20 to 24 weeks to become a police officer just to get your Kentucky Department Criminal Justice training in Richmond. Is 20 to 24 weeks. That's 5-6 months. Do you know how long it takes to get an associate's degree? 2 years. Do you know how long it takes to become a cosmetologist? And you know what a cosmetology is, right? To cut hair, to do makeup. 9 to 15 months. Yeah, you heard that right. It literally can take 2 to 3 times as long to learn to cut somebody's fucking hair. That's scary, people. That's scary. Not only is it scary, it is 100% the reason why you get in here and the second year cop, you go shoot somebody in the face. It's the very reason that you have divorce and domestic violence accusations, allegedly. Yet, you have the charge to hold officers of the Lexington Police Department to the highest standards of professionalism. So, what happens if they get out of line? You get a little rough and tumble with them too? Or is that just the women? And see, this is just fair game, because I know every one of you assholes ran my name through the computer. You're looking for charges you can get me on, priors, I'm on probation, parole, something. You're praying to God you can actually live out that picture of me in the back of the cop car. But all I can say is, boys, you better keep trying. Because I'm past the days that I do dumb shit. You might catch me for a traffic infraction. You might catch me for some shit like that. But you ain't catching me on anything you can lock my ass up for. I'll guarantee that. And if you do, I would love to have the next lawsuit against the city, and I have no problem filing it. Just like I'm going to have to file a complaint with the Attorney General over the open records. I mean, it is what it is. You guys are going to learn this fucking name, and you're going to hate the old Gerg media. I'll guarantee you that. Because you want your media to bow down, and you're used to them just licking those boots and, oh, yeah, yes, officer, yeah. No. I am a fucking asshole. I have rights. I'm going to exercise those rights. Good luck, boys. And until next time, what the fuck, Lex? This podcast is a proud member of the OGM Podcast Network. You can follow me on Facebook at Old Gerg Media, TikTok at Old Gerg Media, same at YouTube, and we also have oldgergmedia.com. So go give us a follow, a like, rate us on your favorite podcast catcher. Hook us up, man. But as always, thank you for listening to OGM Podcast Network.